All right, thanks, guys. The Golden Gophers take on the Auburn Tigers, and that's going to be a 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff in that game. That is your 2020 Outback Bowl, New Year's Day. Now, Auburn's -7 total at 54. We saw a 1-point fade of Auburn and movement upward on the total. The Tigers open as the 8-point favorite, down to -7. Total open 52, up to 54. 61% are leaning Auburn, 63% shaded toward the over. Right now, Minnesota is plus 220 on the money line. Now, if you like Minnesota in this matchup here, they did have a hell of a year. They finished it not so great. Losers of 2 out of their last 3. They also failed to cover the point spread in those 3 games. They had outright losses to Wisconsin and Iowa, and they averaged just 18 points of scoring in those losses. They finished the year just 6-6 against the spread overall. So although they were pretty good with regard to outright wins, when it comes to the number, not so great. Once again, 6-6 against the spread to finish out the year. They also went 2-3 against the spread on the road. Now Auburn on the other side, they finished the year 9-3 straight up overall for the season. They also covered 70% of their games in their last 10. They had successful covers over the likes of Alabama, LSU, and Texas A&M. They also went 4-2 against the spread away from home. Now, Auburn ranks in the top 25 in the nation in scoring, top 25 in rushing. Jatarvius Whitlow, 739 yards rushing, 9 touchdowns on the ground. He averaged 5 yards per carry. DJ Williams and Cam Martin over 700 rush yards combined between the two of those guys. And of course, Bo Nix, the quarterback, 7 rushing touchdowns on the ground. Bo Nix always a threat to get the job done with his legs. Now, this Auburn squad, they rank in the top 15 in points allowed, top 20 in rush yards allowed. Both sides of the ball, very solid. And Marlon Davidson, 7.5 sacks on the year, 2 forced fumbles. Derek Brown, 4 sacks on the season, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. A couple more things to add about Auburn. They rank in the top 10 in yards allowed per play on average. And once again, they finished 9-3 against the spread overall. So very good for their backers. If you were backing Auburn this year, you should have made pretty good money with them. Now, total-wise, 5 out of Auburn's last 6 away from home did stay under the total. They're also 5-2 to the under in their last 7. So with all that said and done, I'm going to lean toward the Tigers in this spot here. Give me Auburn -7 and the under 54 in that game. Give me Auburn winning the Outback Bowl. All right, guys, before we go ahead and move on, just want to take a quick timeout and welcome you to the show. I also want to say Happy New Year to you. Now, before we go ahead and get into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube, I just want to quickly remind you once again to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage, where we do daily premium sports picks on that website, beginning at just $1.99 per month. We are hitting at 60% for the entire college football season. So as we are winding down here in the college football season, you may want to think about hopping aboard. It's just $14.99 per month. Certainly a great value, especially if you want to win 3 out of every 5 games. But anyway, if you want to check out my current record, you can do that for free right now. All you have to do is click the link in the description section below. The record's going to be right on the homepage. That is patreon.com/BrockPage. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some more free lines and personal leans right here on YouTube. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got Michigan taking on Alabama. And that's going to be the Citrus Bowl, 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff in that game. The Crimson Tide are the 7.5-point favorite, total at 58. We saw a 0.5-point move toward Alabama and movement upward on the total. The Crimson Tide open as the 7-point favorite, up to -7.5. Total open 57, up to 58. 62% are leaning Alabama, 67% shaded toward the over. And right now, Michigan is plus 250 on the money line. Now, the Wolverines, they suffered losses to Ohio State, Penn State, and Wisconsin. And, of course, those are really, really good teams. But if you want to hang with the big boys, you gotta beat, all of those teams. You can't lose out to each and every one of them. They averaged just 21 points in those losses, and they gave up 28 points or more in all of those 3 losses as well. They've dropped 2 out of their last 4 as the official road team. They failed to cover the point spread in 2 out of those 4 games as well. They rank 82nd in rushing, 87th in offensive time of possession. They're also 91st in defensive time of possession on the road. Now, Alabama on the other side, they lost to Auburn and LSU this year. Just some outstanding teams there. Obviously, LSU in the national championship. Now, Alabama did score 45 and 41 points, respectively, against those squads. And, of course, when they dropped a bunch of points on LSU, that was without Tua Tagovailoa. So keep that in mind. They still do have the ability to move the ball, especially against a juggernaut such as LSU. Now, they rank in the top 15 in points allowed, top 10 in pass yards allowed. Anthony Jennings, 7.5 sacks on the year, 73 tackles. And Jared Maiden, 4 interceptions, 53 tackles for him. One more guy, actually a couple more guys you want to think about when it comes to this stout Alabama defense. Xavier McKinney, 3 interceptions on the year, 4 forced fumbles, and a defensive touchdown. And you got to keep in mind here, Alabama's also ranking in the top 15 in yards allowed per play. And, of course, Shane Lee, 77 tackles on the year, 3.5 sacks. Now, guys, Terrell Lewis, he has 6 sacks on the year. Don't think we'll see him in action. I believe he is sitting out and looking to make a lot of money and potentially get maybe drafted in a couple of months here. But anyway, Alabama, 3-1 to the over in their last 4, 7-5 to the over for the season. Meanwhile, Michigan, 70% to the over in their last 10. I'm going to purchase the half a point, slide it down, and take Alabama -7 and the over 58 in that contest. Next game, Oregon taking on Wisconsin. 5 o'clock Eastern kickoff in the Rose Bowl. The Badgers are the 3-point favorite, total at 51. We saw a 1-point move toward Wisconsin, moving upward on the total. The Badgers open 2, up to -3. Total open 49, up to 51. 57% are leaning Wisconsin, 64% shaded toward the over. And right now, the Oregon Ducks are plus $1.30 on the money line. Now, Oregon finished the season winning 9 out of their last 10. They also went 5-3 against the spread in their last 8. They had outright wins against the likes of Utah, USC, and Washington. C.J. Verdell, he's got over 1,100 yards on the ground for the season thus far. Oregon ranks in the top 15 in scoring, top 20 in yards per play. Justin Herbert, he's thrown for over 3,300 yards on the season, 32 touchdown passes. Johnny Johnson and Jalen Redd, they both have 7 touchdown catches apiece. This Oregon squad ranks in the top 10 in points allowed, top 15 in rush yards allowed. Kayvon Thibodeau, he's got 9 sacks on the year. Keep an eye on him. He is listed as questionable for that game. And Jerron Holland, he's got 4 interceptions on the season as well. Now, Wisconsin on the other side, just 3-4 against the spread in their last 7 games. They're ranked 95th in passing. They lost to Illinois this year, which is a terrible loss. And they lost to Ohio State twice. They were somewhat competitive with them in the Big Ten championship, but then proceeded to get blown out in the second half. So Wisconsin, 60% to the under in their last 10, 4-3 to the under when traveling. Meanwhile, 2 out of Oregon's last 4 stayed under the total as well. I'm going to fade my 3rd straight Big Ten team. I'm a Big Ten fan too. I love Big Ten football. But I just do not like these matchups. I'm going to go ahead and lean Oregon Ducks +3 and the under 51 in that game. All right, next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Georgia taking on Baylor, and that is your 2020 Sugar Bowl. And that'll be an 8:45 Eastern kickoff in that game. The Bulldogs of Georgia, they are the 4-point favorite, total at 41. We saw a 1-point fade of Georgia and movement downward on the total. The Bulldogs open as the 5-point favorite, down to -4. Total open 41.5, down to 41 even. 53% are leaning Baylor, 67% shaded toward the over. Georgia, victorious in 6 out of their last 7. They're also 4-1 straight up as the official road team. They rank in the top 40 in rushing, top 20 in offensive time of possession. They're also a perfect 4-0 against the spread as the official road team, 6-1 against the spread away from home. So, of course, that includes neutral site games. They have outright victories against the likes of Texas A&M, Auburn, Florida, and Notre Dame. Very impressive resume there. They rank in the top 3 in points allowed, top 3 in rush yards allowed. Richard LeConte, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, just an absolute turnover machine. And Monty Rice, 84 tackles. That's going to lead this Bulldog defense. Now, Georgia ranks in the top 35 in offensive rushing on the road, top 25 in offensive time of possession on the road as well. The big guy, DeAndre Swift, he's got over 1,200 yards on the ground this year, averaging 6.2 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns. Of course, that is DeAndre Swift out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. St. Joe's prep graduate there. Now, Baylor on the other side, losers in 2 out of their last 4. Both losses, unfortunately, came at the hands of Oklahoma. They lost in the regular season, lost in the conference championship. They gave up 64 total points in those 2 games. Unfortunate for this Baylor squad, especially considering, kind of that defense was really the backbone. But anyway, they rank 103rd in offensive time of possession, 51st in rush yards allowed. Now, 4 out of Baylor's last 7 away from home did stay under the total. They're also 3-1 to the under in their last 4. The Bulldogs of Georgia, 7 out of their last 8 stayed under the total as well. They finished the year 10-3 to the under as well. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward another SEC team. I'm not an SEC homer, but I do like these matchups here. Give me Georgia -4 and the under 41 in that game. All right, let's go ahead and dive into our quick pick recap. Once again, brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are currently hitting at 60% for the entire college football season on that website. I like the Georgia Bulldogs -4 under 41. I also like Oregon +3 under 51. Auburn -7 under 54. And last but certainly not least, I like Alabama -7 and the over 58 in that game.